Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to Torch Tales, Stories Behind Hood. I'm your host, Frank Vargas, and today we are at a welding school in South Florida. And of course, I keep asking and they keep saying yes. So I have a very good friend that I've met a few years ago. Now he's into teaching, but we're not going to get into that until the end of the episode because I really want to get to know you, Oscar Guerrero. Now, did you see how I roll those R's? Not Guerrero, Guerrero, all right? So pick that up out there. Oscar, thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.
And Oscar is sweating because he's actually working. You know, we're here, we were setting up, and someone came to pick up some of the stuff that I guess you guys built for someone?
Yeah.
Gotcha. So before I tell the two viewers out there watching what you do, I want to go back to how you got here. So tell me a little bit of how your beginnings, where you're from, before I start asking questions. And by the way, the fine print again, guys, I'll interrupt my guests because that's what I do. Again, I get excited with the answer and then I go into another question, but I always go back to the original. So just stay tuned till the end, you'll see it. So where are you from? Where did you go to school? Where is your parents from?
Sure.
Tell me.
So I'm originally from here in Miami, born and raised Miami, Florida. My mother's actually from Uruguay and my father's from the Dominican Republic. They met here.
All right.
They met here in Miami. We've always lived here. We've always grown up here. I'm one of three. And I went to school at Belen Jesuit Preparatory. I went to a very, very nice, very good school in South Florida.
So you're telling me that you guys had money? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, my parents definitely put in a big push for our education.
All right, that's awesome.
And my high school was very big on the students going to college.
Okay.
I was a part of a class that all of us went to college. I continued and went to college, and I went to school up in New York in Fordham University. I received a degree in economics with a minor in business, and when I graduated college, I went into the workforce and I did accounting and bookkeeping for about 6 or 7 years, and I was like, no mas.
Really? So, wow. See, it's weird because I think you are the second or third person that I've had a conversation, and their path was either accounting, collections, and something around that line. And as you can see, they're doing something else now. So I guess there's a sign. I guess it's not as fun, but you did it for 7 years.
Yeah, well, I was working in a family business. We focused more on office administration for doctors' offices.
Okay.
And just after doing it for several years, I guess I kind of came to a point where I was almost 30, and I don't know if everyone goes through this, if it's a 30-year midlife crisis, but
Did you guys hear this? I'm almost 30. He's making it sound like the guy's 65 or 7 years old.
I was almost 30.
But like, oh my God, I've lived so long, right?
Yeah, but the point is that at that point, I guess I had a little bit of a reflective moment, and I kind of asked myself, like, hey, this bookkeeping, accounting stuff that you're doing, do you want to do it for the next 30 years? And that's when I started exploring other avenues, and one of the avenues I looked into was vocational schools.
So how was living in your 20s in New York versus were you already in a relationship? Were you married? Did you meet because I know you're married, right?
Yes.
So are you single while you're in New York in your 20s? How is that Florida, New York, then back to Florida?
You mean like the different cultures?
Yeah. Overall, the experience, what did you think,
I mean, they're both very similar in the sense that they're relatively fast-paced. New York, I believe, is way more fast-paced than Miami, but Miami does have its speed.
Yeah.
So it's two different comparisons. When I was in college, I always got that question because up in New York they're like, hey, you're from Miami, what are you doing up here?
Right.
And then when I come down to Miami, I was like, I lived in New York. They're like, you're in Miami, why'd you come back down? So it's apples and oranges in my opinion.
All right.
But I think I didn't meet my wife till later on. Actually, it was
in New York.
No, here in Miami, and it was actually she has nothing to do with welding, but it was while I was going to welding school that me and her met, and that's when we formed our relationship, and from there turned into marriage and a family.
So, by the way, guys, we are in the welding area. So behind the camera, there is a 10-8 booth, and there's welders, students, doing their thing. So if you hear the sparks, I love that because this is as blue collar as it gets. Before I continue, Oscar, let me bride my guest with the only thing I got going for me. So I got some stickers for you,
Excellent.
torch tails, and I have a U.S. made keychain by an artist, Menard Art out of California, and he forged this by fire. We're like Oprah. We just give things away until we have nothing else, which is pretty soon. Thank you for allowing me to come and talk to you here.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So here you are in New York, and you go, maybe vocational school, it's for me. Was it right into welding or something else, and then you stumble into welding?
So this was my mentality, and I don't know if it's correct, but it's worked out so far.
But it's
worked out so far.
So
when I was looking into vocational schools, I was looking to different trades. Obviously, there's a whole list of different trades.
Correct.
I put them in list of most lucrative to least lucrative. And welding always tends to come out on top. Now, when you get into the industry, you start realizing how that money is made, and then you're like, maybe I'm not going to be one of those high earners. But either way, that is how I kind of looked at it. And then when I saw one of the welding programs, actually by coincidence, one of my high school teachers was helping out. He worked for AWS on the educational side, so all the online educational stuff. He was the one that allowed me to see some of the programs, some of the courses, and I basically did the first course. I saw the history of welding. I found it interesting. And then I went to the math portion and I went to the hardest course and I was like, I think I can handle that. So I was like, all right, I think this might not be that bad. Then I reached out to AWS.
For those two of you out there that might not know what AWS is, because if you aren't watching this, most likely you are in the industry. So I know he knows, but what is AWS?
The American Welding Society.
And what do they do? How was it that they helped you realize that this was the path?
So the American Welding Society, they have a great impact in the welding industry. They have a very big footprint on codes, on processes, on further educational from just your welding certificates or any advanced education. And one of the things that they do, like I said, on the educational portion, is that they have a network of all the different schools within the United States,
Correct.
or I think it might even go further than that, but definitely within the United States of different programs and schools that you can go to. AWS themselves does not give courses for basic welding. I learned that day one, but they will point you in the right direction, and that's how I was pointed to Miami-Dade County Public Schools, and I took my courses at Turner Tech, not that far from here.
Yeah. So there you go. That's what AWS is, and that was the plug.
Correct. Yes.
So here you are, Miami-Dade.
Yep.
And you are learning welding because you thought that there was a lot of money behind it, right?
Yeah.
Like most people out there.
Yeah.
Once you realize that, maybe the money itself, it's not going to be out there.
Right.
But did you fall in love with the actual technical part of welding? Was it, I could maybe become a teacher, or was that not in the radar yet?
So one of my biggest attractions to welding were two things. One was that it was something that had to be that was physically demanding, that I had to physically move. I wasn't going to be behind a desk. That was one of the big things that called me, because in my previous career, I was behind the desk all day, just pushing papers or typing in numbers or in the computer and stuff like that. Now, the other thing was that for me, every day was a little more creative and every day was a little bit different, because you're never going to get the same problem. And even if you get the same problem, you probably won't have the same solution every time.
There's different routes you can go. Yeah.
Exactly. Now, I came from the accounting and bookkeeping side, so for me everything was very repetitive.
Correct.
Having that little spark of you don't know what the hell's gonna happen.
Yeah.
That was exactly
you get to use
what
your
I was
imagination.
looking for.
You get to
that was what I was looking for, and that's what really attracted me. I mean, anything outside of that was just building up on your skill, and I did like the compatibility between science and welding and
numbers,
numbers and all that was very interesting. It really changed the idea that anyone can do welding, or that dumb people do welding. No, you got to have some smarts for it. So those were all things that attracted me to it.
So at that point, you're thinking, I'm going to learn welding because I'm going to get paid.
Yes.
You were thinking for you to become a welder, or you were thinking, I'm going to become a teacher?
So I was looking at it just on the welder side.
Gotcha.
I wanted to.
So you were going to
weld-
either get a shop, work for a shop, or get a
Yes.
truck, hype it up, and hit the road. Like,
I still had a little bit of, I guess, the college mentality
Okay.
of starting from the bottom and then working your way up the corporate ladder and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So the way I looked at it is that whenever I went to a job, I always started at the bottom. I was always either the last welder that came in, or I was just one of the guys on the shop.
so you actually worked as a welder
Yes.
before you got here.
Yeah, I worked all of them here in Miami. I worked at DDN Aerospace, so I did a little bit of aerospace welding. I worked at Gem 360, so that was a lot of container modification and container modification and construction of it. And then I worked in different little odd jobs, little construction jobs here and there, but all of it was all welding based. Now, my idea was get the experience, and then from there, with my college education, trying to bring that back in from back there, I thought that from there I would eventually move up to either some foreman position, some supervisor position, or something like that. But I always tried to get in on the ground level
Correct.
as a welder, because that
earn
was
your stripes,
that
yeah.
was the image, that was that was, I guess, the way that I wanted to go up.
And when you are a welder
Yes.
working for somebody else versus now you teaching and you looking at it, the knowledge that comes out of a school, out of a vocational school, whatever school,
Yep.
and what's applied out there, are we missing something? Is there something that you missed when you went to school? Is it something that the workforce it's missing once they get a welder, a rookie welder? Is there a gap in between where what you learn, what they want you to do, is not even apples to apples or close enough to? Oh yeah, I know that.
I think it depends where you're gonna go.
Yeah.
There's some places that what you learn in school, maybe at the job they don't want you to do everything because they're on a time crunch and they want to get things done quicker, so they want you to skip steps and stuff like that. But I always tell my
So
students, I'm like,
quantity, not quality, at that
a
moment.
little bit, but I always tell my students, like, just don't forget your basics.
Correct.
Because your basics are what's going to help you.
Correct.
It's going to be time consuming, but hey, prepping your metal, cleaning it right, making sure
Yeah.
you got that, you got that nice landing, you got everything up to par, you get the fit up nice. Like, don't try to rush it. The more you prep, the easier your weld's
Yeah.
going to be.
Measure twice, cut once. Yeah.
Exactly. So I don't think that there's anything that we're not teaching. I think it's more just I guess the culture and the mentality
Yeah.
of trying to get that buck or trying to turn it around really quick, and then that's where a lot of things tend to fall down.
So now, of course, we kind of got into the teaching welding side, but how long were you working as a welder before you became a instructor, and how did you become an instructor?
So I was working in welding for about 6 to 7 years, and I became an instructor because I had spoken with my instructor, and he was telling me that he was already getting to age which he was about to retire, and he was looking for someone to take over his class. And I told him that if he was interested, I'd be interested in taking over that class. In the time, he's still teaching, and that's great.
So he never
That's
retired?
great. No, he didn't. But that's great for the community because he's a great teacher.
Gotcha.
But when he continued teaching that in that time, then an opportunity here at Miami Lakes opened up, and I jumped on that right away. And I've been here since then, since November of 2020.
Really?
Yep.
So it was right after pandemic or in the middle of pandemic?
It was right towards the tail end. Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, the first. So
So did you have any students?
It was fighting the fact of the pandemic, and it was fighting the fact of it was a beginner program. Like, it was just starting off. So
So it was you and that one guy? Yeah.
It was me and that one guy. I started off with just one student. Then the next trimester, and it was funny because I remember that student telling me, he's like, "Man, I had a dream, and I know you're gonna get to 15 students because I don't want any more than 15 students in my class. Anything more than that is just a hazard for me."
Yeah.
So he was like, "I had a dream, and I know you're gonna get to 15 students."
So,
Like, I know it's
so this
coming.
was a student telling you this?
Yeah. It was my first student that told me that, and I was like, "Man, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about." But lo and behold, the second trimester, I had 7 people sign up, and by the third trimester, we hit our 15. And ever since then, we've stayed in
been
double
consistent,
digits.
yeah.
We've been hitting about 13 or 14 students in our class every trimester that sign up.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Definitely. So let's go back a little bit to the personal side.
Sure.
And so you're back in Florida. from New York. You're trying to learn welding. You work,
Right.
as a welder for 7 years. The opportunity comes out or comes up, and you take it. What are you doing in between, or once you got into the welding, you went like, this is it, or was any doubts at some point, like, if I find something else, I'll take that on?
For me, when I started the teaching, that was my introduction to the Miami-Dade County School Board, because that's the system that I'm a teacher, part of a teacher in. After I was doing that for about a year or two, then I actually applied as a welder in the maintenance side of Miami-Dade County Public Schools. So
Okay.
I currently, during the day, I do maintenance for the school board, and then at night I teach a course.
All right.
School board's got me
From
all
both,
different,
from both
all
angles, right?
different angles.
So he's paying
Right.
taxes, all in one. Yeah.
But when I first did it, it was more like I was young. I was starting with a family. I got to do the extra jobs to get extra money. But then after about a year of it, that's when I started, and it wasn't even when I was in the school board. After about a year of teaching and still doing welding during the day, I fell in love, I guess, with that combination.
Really?
Because it was application during the day, and then at night it was a little more the theory and a little more the technical. And when you have new students, I always tell my students, there's no dumb question. Ask me
Correct.
whatever question you have or however many times you have. And sometimes you will still get students that will stump you on a question.
Right.
And it was that combination, I guess, that marriage between
hands-on. Now you
between
applied.
both,
Yeah.
right, between both, that it was just like, man, like the welding part's going to keep my skill up, and then the teaching part's going to keep my knowledge up.
Yeah.
So between both, I just really like the combination, and I've been doing it since then.
That's awesome. And do you have kids?
Yes, I do. I have 2 kids. Yes.
2 kids.
Yes.
How old?
My son is 3 and my daughter is 1.
Now, your son being 3,
Yep.
does he even know what welding is?
He does not. He has seen me use a grinder before, so he's seen the sparks, and he gets very worried. He thinks I'm going to get hurt or something like that. So that's his only introduction to welding that he's seen so far.
Gotcha. And so how long you've been married?
I've been married 4 years.
4 years.
Yeah.
All right. And I know you told me off camera that you guys just bought a house.
Yes, we did.
In
Yep.
David, a part of here at Florida, maybe 30 minutes from here, north.
Yeah, it's about 25.
Yeah.
30
So
minutes.
congratulations
Thank
again.
You. Thank
That's
you very much.
That's a big decision in one's life. Going back to how many students now? I know that you said that guys are double digits. So
Yes.
what are the terms? What often? When each semester lasts? How long?
So the vocational classes.
Sorry.
Oh.
Here we go. I told you I was going to do this. I'm asking about semesters and students and all that, but
Yes.
we're not even sure where we are. Are you guys? No. Where are we?
We are in Miami Lakes Educational Center and Technical College. That is the full name. And it is a high school during the day, but it's also a vocational college and a technical college day and night.
Gotcha.
So I don't teach during the day, but I teach the night course.
All right.
And the vocational or the technical college side focuses on students that have already graduated high school and they're
Okay.
going into a vocational trade. We run on a trimester system, so pretty much there's a semester every 4 months, because there would be 3 in a year. That's how the system runs, and every trimester, depending on if it's in the beginning of the year, if it's the summer trimester or the fall, each one has relatively different amount of hours, but either way, it's still a trimester you can do the course in. And the course that we offer is 1,050 hours. It's a basic welding course.
Okay.
And
So what kind of processes do you guys?
So we cover oxyacetylene cutting, plasma cutting, and carbon arc gouging. And then when it comes to welding, we cover stick welding, shield metal arc welding, gas metal arc welding, gas tungsten arc welding, and then we do a little bit of oxyacetylene welding as well.
All right. So you guys are covering pretty much the gamma of.
What we focus on in the basic course is all of the 4 positions. So we'll cover flat, horizontal, vertical, and overhead. There is a second part of the course that we're going to be opening in August in the next trimester, which is the advanced welding. That one focuses on pipe.
Gotcha.
So
Are you the only teacher here now, right now?
No, we're actually going to be bringing in, hopefully we'll be bringing in a second teacher so that way he can have his course of the advanced. I'll take my course of the basic welding, and then that way basically the students I have either feed into that course, or if
They'll get more
from there they can either get whatever certifications they want in the basic course and go into the workforce, or if they really like it and they want to continue, then we'll offer the advanced course, and that'll be a complete, well-rounded curriculum for welding.
So I know you had your ideas of why you got into welding. The bulk of the students that come through the school, when they first come in, what are their thoughts on why they want to become a welder? Like, oh, I want to do what?
I've had every answer under the book.
Really?
Yeah, I've had every answer possible, and I've had many different age ranges also in my class.
From the hobbyist, the weekend warriors,
yes, I've had hobbyists. I've had guys that didn't have they didn't take advantage of the opportunity in high school when they had a welding course.
Got it.
Now they kind of regret it. Now they have a little more time, and they're like, let me go back and let me try to learn it. So I've had some of those guys. I've had other guys that they're like, look, I just want to learn a different trade. Maybe I'll do a little bit of weekend jobs here and there with it. Nothing that they want to do a complete career change. And then a lot of the younger guys that I have, I mean, the younger guys, by that I mean, well, first of all, it's guys and girls, because I do have females in the class.
Yes.
But the younger students that I have, and I would say their age range is about 18 to 25.
All right.
Those are the ones that are looking more for a career change. Those are the ones that either just graduated high school and they're looking into something. Those are a lot of the guys that like cars, and when they like cars, the first thing they want to get into is roll cages and all that. So that's where they come from. And there's always been a bunch of different smorgasbord of people that come to the course.
Do you guys try to help with job placement?
Absolutely.
Is that something that the school offers as well?
I always try to keep my finger on the pulse, if you want to say ear to the ground. I actually have, for example, all of my profiles up, and I always say I'm looking for a job, even though I'm very comfortable with where I am. But the reason I do that is because I want to see what's out there.
Correct.
When I see something that's interesting or something, because there aren't a lot of entry-level welding positions. Everyone always wants someone that has
experience, and
years.
how do you get there, right? That's always been my issue.
I need you with 5 different certifications and 3 to 5 years experience, and you have to have your own equipment. So, it's like, man, how does someone start?
They make it so difficult.
Right. So what I always do is that one of the things we like to do is that we definitely have a very close connection with the American Welding Society.
Okay.
We have a very close connection with our local chapter, you being the vice president.
Correct.
We always try to go to meetings, and we like to host things here in the class. So I give my students that exposure, that networking, so that they can reach out and they can, speak to people.
Yeah, and build relationships.
Whenever
you never know.
there's a business, for example, if yours is doing some kind of grand opening or something, I always invite the students. I tell them, hey, go over there, just see, you know what demos are going to be there, who's going to be there. That was actually how we got in connection with the American Welding Society for the Instructor Institute. Gary was at UniWeld, and they couldn't find a spot. I was there, and he's like, hey, you mind if we do it? And you're like, yeah, absolutely. And we've been doing it for the last 3 years, helping them out. So what we like to do is just, what I like to do for job placement is whenever I hear someone that tells me they need someone or something like that, I always evaluate the student.
Of course.
I don't want to send a student that either the company is going to say no to.
It's still your name tied to it, so you want to make sure.
Exactly. But really, when I get most of my students to get to that 3G certification, whether it be in stick or in MIG, that's when I feel much more comfortable to be able to send them out so that they can go apply for a job. Or, sometimes it may not even be a welder specific job. For example, I have a student.
It's the one that I'm thinking of.
Yeah. She'll talk a little more.
Yeah. So it's funny because earlier today I was at a local distributor here in South Florida, and I happened to meet a young lady that was there that I knew that she wasn't there before. So I noticed that she was new, and I said hi and all that, and talked to the people that I was going to be talking to, and then I walk here into the school. And she sees me and she goes, "Oh, you're here too?" So it's funny because she's working the counter, learning the distributor side of things, and the lingo, which helps tremendously when you are also doing the hands-on.
Right.
So I know exactly, and I saw it firsthand.
Yeah. So Dennis reached out to me. He said he needed someone in the front office in the front of the shop, and immediately I thought of the student because the student has experience in hospitality. And they're taking a welding course, so they have that knowledge of welding. I was like,
I got
Dennis, here you go. And he was very impressed with her, and now she's working there. But it's that kind of, tell me what it is that you need, give me a little bit of information.
Correct.
I'll kind of scan my students. I'll ask them around. There's also some students that are they're very focused on what they want to do. There's a lot
this
of
is
the
it,
guys-
and I'm not going outside these lines.
Exactly. So you got to play around with that. Everyone has their own personal goals.
And you respect
but
that.
whenever someone's in need of a job, or whenever someone's in need of some kind of placement, or they feel that they're comfortable enough that they can do some kind of even entry level welding, which I highly recommend, because then
I
they're
do too.
practicing and learning and practicing and learning, and it's a little bit of burning the candle on both ends, but in the end that's how I did it, and I think a lot of people do it, and a lot of people get the most out of it.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think you're doing a great job, in the way that you are approaching, welding as a whole, especially because there's not that many vocational schools going on, and it's more of a dying breed, even though nowadays there is some sort of a new energy. Social media is playing a big part. They can see that welding is not just being under a car gluing two metals together, right? There's so many other avenues. So that's great, and hopefully the 300,000-400,000 skilled welders needed in the next 5-10 years, we start finding those new blood to fill those positions.
Yep.
Where do you see? Where would you wish the school is, or in the next 5 years? Not even 5, in the next 2-3 years. What is it? More volume of students? It's either certain other things that come to the school, so you guys can teach different courses. Like, where would you dream vision of 5 years from now, 2-3 years from now?
So, fingers crossed, like I said, in August, we start with the advanced welding. So that was a big component that we were trying to get included in the curriculum.
Yeah.
So that was already a big stepping stone that we got. From there, it's just building up that side of it. Because for me, even though it is a complementary part of the curriculum, it's part 2 of the curriculum, I still see it as a little bit of a separate program, because since it is pipe welding, and a lot of people are, pipe welding is just pipe welding, and that's it. That's all. They don't deal with anything else. That's it. I do see it as its own, smaller program. So from here to the next 5 years, it's building that up and just building up the name of the school, so that we can get some more recognition, and hopefully people reach out to our school because they've heard our name, or there are there are business owners that know that, hey, the welders that come out of it, those are good welders. That's ideally what I would like in the next 5 years. I would like people, like business owners or shops or whatever it is, to know that when someone has a resume and they said they went to Miami Lakes Educational Center for Welding, okay, these people know what they're talking about. Or if they need to send someone, go to Miami Lakes. Like, the guy there knows what he's doing. That's the compliment, or that's the 5-year plan that I would like.
And what would you think, not talking about the school specific, this school specific, or just any school as a whole, what would you say the educational programs can do a little bit better to attract this younger generation, whether it has worked for you guys or other places that you've seen, something that you can say that should be implemented to help bring that wave of new generation?
So I've always had this idea in the back of my head.
Here we go, guys. Here we go.
Which is that the school I went to, the high school I went to, was a religious Catholic private school. We didn't have any kind of vocational stuff. I think the biggest thing we had when I was there was carpentry for a theater building or a theater sets. That was about it. But I know that all the public schools had more programs. They had electrical, they had welding, they had plumbing, they had different programs like that students can take at the high school level.
Correct.
Over the years, those programs have been taken out. And now is when we're hearing a bigger scream of like, why'd you take those programs out? We need those people.
Right.
What I've always thought would be a good idea is to have just one program, but it would split the year into 5 different trades, and they're just learning a little bit of each trade.
Just so they can then figure out which one, like, oh, this is the one I love.
Exactly, and then, like, just For example, when it comes to welding, just get them far enough so
Yeah.
that they could pass a 1G test.
Yeah.
So
Just
they
get
can
them hungry
so they can get
enough.
that taste.
Yeah.
Right. Give them 2 months. Like, hey, let's prep the metal. Let's do a 1G test. Let's try to pass it. When we're done with that,
Go
we're
into
gonna
something else.
electrical.
Yeah.
Let's change whatever it is. Let's change an outlet. Let's change a light or something like that. Then we go to plumbing. It's like, all right, let's do like service on when it's AC. Let's do a maintenance on an AC. And within a year after you do all 4 or 5, they could be like, you know what, the one that I liked the best was AC. The one I liked the best was this one. And then from there, the last day of class should be like, oh, you really liked it? This should be the school you go to.
Correct.
Or this should be the program you might be interested in.
That's actually a great idea, because I think I've talked to some people, especially my kids, when they were younger, about, hey, most kids nowadays, when they come out of high school, they have no clue what they're going to do, even though they go to college for something.
Right.
80% of them come out of college and not do what they went to college for.
Correct.
So I've always told my kids, like, hey, go take 6 months, go travel a little, go meet other people, go take a few positions here and there, so you can figure out exactly what is it that you love, whether it's really sticking to school or maybe find a trade, blue collar, but that way you're not $300,000 in debt to then go work something completely different from what you were doing or were going to school for. So I think that would help alleviate a lot of the I don't know what I'm gonna do.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of schools think when they think about bringing back the trades, they think about, oh my God, we got to have like a whole class of welding, a whole class of HVAC, a whole class of this. I say just condense it into one class.
Yeah.
Break it down by the year. 20% is welding, 20% is this, and at the end of the year, you have it like at a senior level or the last year.
Correct.
And at the end of it, be like, look, if you guys like it, there is some kind of career path to this. We weren't just messing around. Like there is some kind of, there are people that do this for a living. There's a career that can come out of it, and that would be a good introduction to them.
No, I love that idea, because, like I said, it's something that I've played with, in somewhat of a similar situations before.
Yep.
Oscar, I want to congratulate you on the school.
Thank you.
On what you've done in a short time. Definitely, you can see it. You can see it in the students. You can see it in your name popping around town. On the school itself, and you guys can only go up from here. So, congratulations again.
Thank you.
Thank you for allowing me to come and just speak into your school a little bit and your life.
Thank you.
And nothing but praise again. Anything we can do on this side of the world,
absolutely.
Just reach out. You know where to find me. And guys, this is what it takes. Guys like Oscar, younger generation, trying to pass that knowledge, just like he stumbled into it and change careers, just like that. And we need more of that. So again, appreciate it. This was harmless. I hope you liked it, guys. I'll see you somewhere else next time with somebody else. Torch Tales out.